Welcome to Logical-NDE. My name is Emily, and it is my pleasure to narrate the near-death experiences of those who have seen the other side. If you are new to our channel, welcome. For our regular viewers, please sit back and enjoy today's episode.
So my real name is Kalinda. My middle name is Pia. I've actually changed my name to Pia, and that happened after my near death. I live in Vernon, BC, Canada, and I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and I'm more in a niche of spiritual hypnotherapist now since my near death accident. So I sort of specialize in that because I can also channel. And I'm also a psychic along with being a clinical hypnotherapist. Okay, so I've had a few near-death experiences in my life, and I think it was spirit trying to give me a shake. And I've gone through everything you can think of in life. And spirit was trying to get me on a road to see. And I can get into that later. But the last one was for me really to have a kick in the pants, so to speak. I dabbled with drugs. I was homeless. I was all these different things in my life. And about 6 years ago, I was going from here to there. I was traveling all over the place. I was living all over the place. And I was living at this point, I still had things in the back of my car. And I had moved to a lakeside resort just outside of Kelowna, BC. And it was a lake, and I was on the side of a mountain. And it was the middle of winter. And I didn't stay too many places too long. So I still had a lot of the things in the back of my car. And I'd lived out there, and I decided in the middle of a big snowfall, I wanted to go get something from town. And I lived about 45 minutes outside of town because I was in the middle of the mountain range and it went all the way down to the lake. So I knew that I shouldn't go out that night, but I just have this personality where if I want to do something, I'm going to do it regardless of the consequences, that sort of thing. So I got in my truck. I knew the tires were bad, and I just did it anyways because I wanted to do it. And I got in my car and I started driving to town. Well, I was driving along the mountainside. It was dark out. There was a lot of snow, and I rounded the corner of this mountainside, and there was no barriers at all. And as I rounded one of the curves around the mountain, I hit some black ice. And when I hit this black ice, I started to swerve along towards the cliff of the mountain. And the cliff went down pretty far, all the way down to the lake. And I remember hanging onto the steering wheel and sliding towards the cliff and thinking, I can't stop. I can't stop. I'm heading right for the cliff on the driver's side. And I was heading closer and closer and closer, and I knew that I was going to go off the side of the cliff. And the last thing that went through my head is I just gripped onto the steering wheel, and I thought, this is the moment of my death, because it was really steep and it went all the way down. And there's nothing, I knew I was losing control, and there's nothing I could do to save myself. So the truck started, and it probably rolled about 3 times, and it went from extreme panic to all of a sudden everything went into slow motion. It went into slow motion and panic almost until I stopped being panicky, and it was almost like I went into this very peaceful Zen-like feeling, and what should have lasted seconds for the car to just roll right down the hill seemed to last about 10 or 15 minutes. It seemed like everything went super slow. And I remember as I was rolling, I could see the cups and saucers and cutlery and everything just flying around in my car, and I could see the windshield break in half and come forward. I could see the top of the roof behind me go right down like a pancake, and I could see the passenger side beside me go down like a pancake. But where I was sitting in the driver's side didn't move. And I felt like I was in a cage, like I had a cage around me where I was holding my hands. And I just remember looking around very calmly, very peacefully, and seeing everything crash in around me except for where I was sitting. And I remember as well looking down by my feet, and there was a yellow light, like almost like an orb. And there was a yellow orb type light there. And it all happened so, so fast. And I remember being very warm, very peaceful. And it's almost like time stood still. It's almost like I hovered, like I was just hovering there in the car, and something was wrapped around me. I knew that I was being downloaded with something, but it happened so fast that all of a sudden I didn't remember till a little bit later. I landed at the bottom, and all of a sudden I think I was unconscious. I went unconscious at that time, but I wasn't sure. It was all a mix up at that time. I got to the bottom of the hill. I landed at the bottom, or not at the middle of the mountain. Some trees had gone through the back of my window to stop the car. And I remember that I was encased in all the snow, and there was no lights at the top of that mountain. All I could see is lights, cars going by, and nobody could see me because the whole car was encased in snow, and nobody was going to be able to see me. So I made it through the window, and I remember trying to find my way crawling up the side of the mountain with my hands and knees. So I got to the top of the mountain, and I was still on my hands and knees, and I was going like this for whatever car would stop. So somebody stopped, and they said, "Where did you come from? What are you doing here on your hands and knees?" And I said, "Oh, I just live up the street here at the resort. Can you take me home?" And he said, "Well, no, I think we should call an ambulance." And I said, "Oh, no, I'm fine. Just take me home." And he says, "No, we need to call an ambulance. Where did you come from?" I said, "Oh, down there. I was right out of it." And so anyways, the ambulance came, took me to trauma. And I ended up breaking about 6 ribs, and I was bleeding out of my head. I had to have my head stapled back together from here all the way back to here. I had a brain hemorrhage, and I don't know how I was able to climb up that mountain with 6 broken ribs and blood pouring out of my head. I don't know. I was in shock, and the adrenaline, I guess, kicked in for me to save myself, because nobody would have found me down there. So I left the hospital, and I got home that night, and I laid down, and I don't know when I remembered this, but I went to sleep, and I remember hearing, like I was walking, it was almost like a riverbed, because I saw trees ahead of me. And I was walking along a riverbed, and it was all kind of rocks, but it was hazy. It was hazy. Like I saw a bunch of people up ahead in the tree line, but I couldn't see them. Like it was almost like fog and people ahead, like lights and I can't really, it's so hard to describe. Like people's shadows or something, but in the light and in the trees. And I was standing, and it's almost like I wanted to run towards them. And then something stopped me, but I didn't see what stopped me. But I heard a voice, and I was running, and all of a sudden I just stopped, and I couldn't go any further towards those people, and I couldn't see who the people were, but I saw lights and almost like a gathering over there. It's almost like kind of over a bridge or something. And something stopped me and said, "No, you've come this far already. You've learned so many lessons already. And this is, you have made a contract to do this. You're almost there. You have a mission, basically you have a mission to do. It's time to go back, in so many words. And you will know, you'll know what to do, basically. And that's it. So I was sent back. And so when I woke up in the morning, I was a completely different person. I suffered from depression for so many years. The depression was gone. It was gone. My whole personality was different. I had lost my car. I lived an hour outside of town. I had no family, no friends in that area. I had no way to get food. I couldn't move. I had 6 broken ribs. I was living in the middle of nowhere, but nothing mattered. Nothing mattered. I was so positive, and it was just like, everything's going to be fine. It doesn't matter. Everything is going to be fine. And I kept hearing the words of shaman or shamanism or something. And I kept telling my friend, I'm like, I keep hearing shamanism, shaman, all this. I keep hearing these words. And I'm like, I never heard of shamanism. I don't even know what a shaman does. I don't know. And then the next few weeks after that, I kept feeling this heavy urge, like I have a mission. I have a mission, because I couldn't really remember everything, but I knew I had a mission. But I was very frustrated because I didn't know what the mission was. And I needed to find out, what's my mission? What's my mission? I need to do something. I need to do something. But I didn't know what. And I had changed so much that I was very overwhelmed. In the next little while, over the next few months, I became very, very, very overwhelmed by the person that I would quickly become. The depression was gone. The way of thinking was gone. The way I looked at things were gone. The way I just gave up control over everything was gone. And that overwhelmed me because I didn't really know who I was anymore. And that I had a little bit of a healing crisis and a crisis over that for a little while. So I went to talk to somebody, and she said to me, just ask your angels to back off, like just to take it a little bit slower with you. So I asked my angels, I'm like, I don't know what's happening to me, but can you slow down, because I can't handle this. And so I asked, and it started to slow down. And then so now it's been about, 5 years or so. And it's been slowing down, but slowly I started going to spiritual church. I started meeting different people that were spiritual. I went back to school for hypnotherapy. And then that started slowly. And then I started to be able to become very, very intuitive. Well, fast forward now, I've been doing hypnotherapy for years. And not only can I do hypnotherapy, now I can tell them what their blocks are. Now I can tell people, I can channel in session and being a conduit for spirit. I can take them into their past lives. I can bring people to past loved ones that have passed away. Like I fully embrace. I can spirit can pass messages to me, and now I fully understand why. Because for a long time I thought I had a curse. 3, I have had a life of hell on earth. I'm just telling you, a hell on earth. And I thought, why me? Why me? I've gone through addiction, abuse, like Stockholm syndrome, a narcissist. I've gone through molestation. I've gone through homelessness. I've gone through every single thing you can think of, and abandoned by my parent, like every single thing. And I thought, I've tried suicide. I've, every single thing. And I've almost died a few times. I was in ICU. My baby's died. Everything. And there's so many things where I've wanted to give up. And I've even took pills one time, and I tried to spit them out. And then I heard, okay, that's all we wanted to know. It was very quick. Spirit spoke to me and said, after I spit the pills out, okay, that's all we needed to know. And I heard a distinct voice say that. And they wanted to know if I wanted to live or wanted to die at that time. But they kicked my butt a few times, and I kept going back into a dark place because I couldn't learn the lessons. And I kept going back and being a victim. And this last time, I was tired. I was very tired of all the things I had to get through. And I did get through them. And what they showed me this last time is, this is it. Are you going to finally do the work that you came here to do? And when I went down that cliff, that was it for me. I've never looked back to addiction, to being a victim, to anything. And now I can see that everything that I've suffered and everything that I had to go through was for a bigger plan, was for me to help my clients, because everybody that comes to sit in this chair, I can relate. I can relate to rape. I can relate to addiction. I can relate to molestation. I can relate to homelessness. I can relate to not having family. I can relate to losing a child. I can relate. And it's been, Spirit told me that first half was hell. But it's because I walked through every single thing in my life. And this was my life's journey. And I was tired. So my soul wanted to drive off that cliff. But Spirit said, no, you're almost there. You're not giving up yet. You're not giving up yet. You have a mission here. And now I know. I didn't know then, but I absolutely know 100% that I'm doing my mission. Because when these people come in for hypnotherapy and I'm clearing past life trauma, I'm clearing karma, I'm clearing ancestral traumas, I'm helping people get over molestations, I'm helping people go back and face their perpetrators in hypnosis, and I'm clearing all this stuff, and I'm seeing people that they've gone through years of therapy, and I'm helping them get to deep roots, and I'm helping change lives. I understand now why I can handle this deep stuff with them. It's when it was happening, it's like everything was slow motion. Like I said, it seemed to last, should have been 2 seconds, lasted about 15 minutes, and it didn't last 15 minutes. So I feel I went somewhere, like another dimension or something, because I think I went to that place. But I don't remember what happened there, but it seemed to last a very long time because everything was in slow motion. And I remember seeing that light. But that's all I remember, and it lasting a very long time. But it wasn't until after I went to the hospital and then I went to sleep that night that the next morning as I remembered everything. I don't know how that worked. It wasn't until I actually had time to rest my body, and maybe at night, during the night, I can astral travel now and I can see a lot of things. And what I saw was my dad has died over 20 years ago. And that was my dad sitting behind me. And the reason why he was sitting behind me is because he told me if he wasn't sitting there, I would have broke my back. And that makes sense because I broke all my ribs. Why wouldn't I have broken my back? He sat there and saved me from that because I would have broken my back. And I would have been probably in a wheelchair or something. And he said he knows me. And he said, I wouldn't have done good in a wheelchair. And I would have given up. And I wouldn't have done what I'm doing. Because I'm the kind of girl that, if you know me, I wouldn't do good in a wheelchair. And I showed pictures of my car that's completely smashed in. And I also have pictures of the stitches going around my head. So I have those pictures. Well, when I was going through everything I've gone through, I turned to drugs, I turned to alcohol, I was suicidal, I was depressed, I was all the stuff. And I understand when you're in it, you don't understand. But what I know now is this: where we are, this is a school. We're not from here, we're from the other side. And our soul is here to grow. Okay. And these are all lessons, these are all just lessons. And to just hold on and to get through it. And every time you get through this, whether it be addiction or losing a child, or some of these things that I've gone through, it makes you grow so much stronger. And once you get on the other side of that, it's not going to kill you, and it makes you so much stronger. And you have to understand that we're spiritual beings having an earthly experience. We're not from here, like, we're from the other side. We've come here, experience these things, and we set out before we even come. I set out now to clear a lot of karma. That's why, I'm not embarrassed to tell you I was an addict and I was this and I was that, because I came to clear a lot of karma this time around. That was my soul's choice. And it was hard. Yeah, it was really hard, but I go through it. I went through it. And people get really stuck on that. And if they can learn to forgive and let go and accept, and that's what I try to do with hypnosis. I always show people the other side, and try to help them see the bigger picture and learn how to forgive and let go and accept, so they can free themselves from that. That's what I try to do, so we can move forward. I'm from Universe Hypnotherapy, and I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and I do all kinds of regressions. I do age regression, and I do past life regressions. I do parts therapy. If a part is taking over most of your life, then I'll talk to just the part. I also do Akashic readings, and I go into your life book. And I also do quite spiritual hypnosis. I can take you to your loved ones. I can clear negative attachments and that sort of thing. You can get a hold of me at Universe Hypnotherapy. And I do give Logical NDEs the authority to use this clip and my video.
Thanks for watching today's episode. Please don't forget to give us a like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.